I'm not a lawyer, but I was in the courtroom for day 16 of the Diddy trial, so let me tell you about the very interesting testimony today. I'll tell you very quickly about the first witness, which was a video forensic expert who reviewed the surveillance videos from the Intercontinental Hotel. This expert was hired by the prosecutors to essentially string together all the videos from all the angles, making it one seamless video so that if you're watching it, you can see the sequence of events. So for example, if camera 1 captures Diddy walking down the hallway and camera 2 captures Diddy walking into the foyer where the elevators are, the expert put a video together that would have camera 1 first with a brief black screen, and then the camera 2 angle would happen right after. This expert also testified that because of some kind of file conversion process, the hotel videos were mistakenly sped up. So a part of his process was to slow the videos back down so that it would accurately reflect the speed in which things happened. On cross-examination of this witness, the defense highlights that the cameras were motion activated. So there were some jumps in the videos and there were some missing time codes. And they call out that the different surveillance cameras were not all on the same internal clock. So some of the timestamps may seem like one event happened before the other, but in reality, it didn't. So the expert says he couldn't use time codes and instead used overlapping events to understand how exactly things happened that day. All right, and then Briana Bongolan takes the stand. And context here, because the internet loves to spread misinformation. In Cassie's civil lawsuit against Diddy, she told the story of a friend of hers being held over a balcony by Diddy. Someone somewhere started a rumor that this friend held over the balcony was a male celebrity, but that's not accurate. The friend Cassie was talking about was Briana Bongolan, and she's called to the stand to testify about that exact incident. Also worth noting that she was given immunity by prosecutors for her testimony. So Briana says that she first met Cassie in 2013 when she worked at the streetwear company Young and Reckless, but the two of them didn't become close until they worked together about a year later when they were trying to build a t-shirt line at a company called Diamond Designs. Briana was a graphic artist and Cassie was brought on to co-design the line. Briana also testified that even though she and Cassie became close over time, she didn't actually meet Diddy until about a year after her and Cassie became friends. She says that she, quote, wasn't really fond of what she was seeing, so she wasn't really wanting to meet him. Specifically, Briana testified about seeing Cassie with a black eye on FaceTime around the time of her Perfect Match movie premiere. And she also says that she remembers seeing Cassie upset when she would be on the phone with Diddy, but Briana says she eventually agreed to meet him after Cassie begged her to. When describing what her and Cassie did in general as friends, Briana said that they would do narcotics, they would go shopping, and they would hang out with friends like Deontay Nash and some others. Briana then described a time in April of 2016 where she says she and Cassie had been out shopping, and then Diddy texts Cassie a list of all the places that Cassie and Briana had been that day. Briana said they had not told Diddy where they went, so the list kind of freaked her out. And after they got the list, the two of them just went home. From there, Briana testifies about a few other incidents that she witnessed dealing with Diddy and Cassie. The first one was at Cassie's 29th birthday party. And if you recall, Cassie and the stylist, Deontay Nash, both testified about this party, saying that Diddy threw Cassie a surprise party. But at the party, they started arguing because Diddy wanted Cassie to leave and have an FO. Cassie didn't want to, but she said she eventually agreed. So according to Briana, from what she saw that night, Cassie and Diddy started off the night getting along, but then at some point they began arguing. Briana says she left with Cassie and Deontay Nash to go back to Cassie's apartment. And Briana says when they got there, Cassie packed a bag and left, but she didn't know where Cassie was going. In another incident that Briana described on the stand, she says she was at Cassie's apartment once and Diddy came over banging on the door. Cassie came out from her room to the main room, and then, according to Briana, Diddy, who was standing at the entryway door, threw a knife at Cassie. And then Cassie, according to Briana, picked up the knife and threw it back at Diddy. She says it didn't hit Diddy and then he just left. When the prosecutor asked Briana if she and Cassie did some narcotics that night, she says that she doesn't remember, but she does remember just being scared of Diddy that night. Another incident Briana testified about was from a beach photo shoot in 2016, where she says Diddy came up really close to her face and said something to the effect of, quote, "I'm the devil and I could off you." Briana said she didn't know why Diddy said that to her and he hadn't done anything like that before. But after he said it, she was terrified, and she also acknowledged that that day she had done some white stuff. And then Briana gets to the highly anticipated part of her testimony, which is the balcony incident. It was September of 2016, and according to Briana, her and her ex-girlfriend were asleep on the couch in Cassie's apartment when she all of a sudden woke up to Diddy banging on the door. Briana says she took her ex-girlfriend to hide in the bathroom and told her to be quiet because she didn't want to expose her to some of the things she had seen going on. After leaving her girlfriend in the bathroom, Briana says she went on the balcony, and then while facing outwardly towards the view, she either lit or was about to light some narcotics to try and act natural, when all of a sudden Diddy came up behind her, lifted her up by placing his hands under her armpits, and then put her on top of the balcony railing. She said her feet were dangling above the railing. And it's also worth mentioning that Cassie lived on the 17th floor. And while dangling, Briana says that Diddy was yelling at her, quote, "You know what the F you did." On the stand, Briana said at the time this happened, and even now, she still has no idea what Diddy was talking about. According to Briana, this whole incident lasted about 15 seconds, and then Diddy pulled her back over the railing and threw her on some balcony furniture. And as she was falling, Briana says she heard Cassie say something like, quote, "Did you just hang her over the balcony?" And then Briana also hears something about her girlfriend being in the house, and then she says Diddy left. When this is all over, Briana says her and her ex-girlfriend left Cassie's house to go back to her apartment, and it wasn't until she got home that she noticed a large bruise on her leg with a piercing in the middle. They also showed a picture that Briana took of her injury that day, and it looked like exactly how she described. It was a very large bruise, and in the middle was almost like a small hole, as if something circular had pierced or entered her leg. Briana says she never went to the hospital for her injuries, but she did go see a chiropractor that same day. And according to her, a day or two after this incident, Diddy or someone from his team FaceTimed her. She says on the call, she just kept telling Diddy, quote, "I don't want any problems with you." And that while Diddy wasn't saying much on the call, he kept putting his hands over his head and then looking at the camera and looking away. Briana says that after this all happened, she and Diddy tried to be cool, and she still hung out with him, but the last time she says she ever hung out with him was January 2nd, 2018. She says it was her, Diddy, and Cassie, and they had gone to a New Year's Eve party in Miami. They were in a penthouse suite, and according to her, after doing 8 hours of ketamine, she said, quote, "I can't do this anymore." She got her things and left, and then vowed to get sober. Briana says that she got the date January 2nd, 2018 tattooed on her neck to serve as a reminder to never go back, and she says she is sober today. Briana testified that after that New Year's event, her relationship with Cassie became kind of sporadic, but they eventually got close again, and when Cassie was preparing to file her lawsuit, she reached out to Briana to ask if she could include her name as the person who was held over the balcony, but Briana told her no. Briana also says that after the lawsuit came out and she read it, she called Cassie to tell her that she got a few things wrong in it. In the lawsuit, Cassie said that the incident happened at a hotel, but Briana says it actually happened at Cassie's apartment. Cassie also said that a woman named Tiffany was there, but Briana says Tiffany was not there and it was actually her ex-girlfriend who was there. And apparently Cassie got the timing of the incident incorrect. Briana testified that as a result of this balcony incident, she has nightmares, back pain, and paranoia. And in January 2024, so 2 months after Cassie filed her lawsuit, Briana hired her own attorney to file a lawsuit against Diddy. The attorney she hired was Tyrone Blackburn, who you may be familiar with if you've been following any of the civil lawsuits against Diddy. But Briana says that she fired Tyrone because he sent multiple demand letters to Diddy that included incorrect information. So she hired a new lawyer instead, and she officially filed a lawsuit against Diddy, and she's requesting $10 million, which according to her, that number came from her attorney. The final thing Briana discusses on direct examination is that a producer named Rob Holiday, who she was once close with, FaceTimed her in early 2024. Briana says that when Rob called her, he appeared to be in Diddy's backyard, and he said he was calling on behalf of Diddy to discuss some kind of settlement. Briana says she declined the offered amount, but then there was a bunch of objections, so we never actually got the details of what happened on that call and what the settlement number was. Briana says after that call, she never spoke with Rob Holiday again, and she said she's filed her lawsuit because she wants to seek justice for what happened. And with that, Nicole Westmoreland comes up to do cross, and oh child. And I'm going to tell you now, it was clear from the questions that Nicole Westmoreland asked that she was not just trying to show that the events didn't happen the way Briana said they did. She was actually trying to show jurors that this event didn't happen at all. Nicole Westmoreland starts off having Briana recall the first time she and Cassie hung out. Briana testified that it started off with Cassie asking Briana to come over because they were supposed to be working on design ideas for their t-shirt line. But once she got over there, Briana suggested that they do a photo shoot of Cassie in the pool with just a t-shirt on. At some point during this hangout, Cassie asks if Briana gets high, to which Briana says yes, and then the two of them proceed to do narcotics that day, and it ends up with Briana spending the night. Nicole Westmoreland highlights that in an interview with prosecutors, Briana said that she knew her and Cassie were comfortable with each other at the moment Cassie agreed to do the photo shoot in just her t-shirt. And then following that first hangout, Briana says that she regularly began spending the night at Cassie's house and that the two of them would regularly engage in doing narcotics. She said they would do them together, and they were doing them before Briana even met Diddy, which the defense says shows Diddy was not forcing Cassie to do them, nor did he control who she was hanging out with. And she acknowledges that the two of them had a serious problem. Westmoreland has Briana go through a number of different narcotics that she was doing, including something called a Cocoa Puff, which involves sprinkling one narcotic on top of another and then rolling it up, which Briana says was her fave. Nicole Westmoreland asked Briana the names of dealers that she would use or that she sent to Cassie's house for Cassie to buy from. And one of them, according to Nicole Westmoreland, was named Ray J. And to this, Briana said, quote, "I mean, he sounds like the singer, but I don't think it's him." And because names are always being dropped in this trial, Briana testified that her and Cassie's t-shirt line never ended up working out because she was competing against people like Beyonce and Rihanna, and also they just couldn't work it out with the team working behind them. And Nicole Westmoreland uses this to highlight that the t-shirt line was something Cassie was doing completely separate from Diddy. And she says that to show that Diddy did not control Cassie's career and opportunities as the government says he did. From there, Westmoreland moves into some of the friendships that Briana has today, to which she says she is still friends with Cassie and the stylist, Deontay Nash, and she says that she's spoken to both of them very recently. Westmoreland asks her if they talked about their testimony. Briana says no. "We knew, what was going on." And then Westmoreland says, "You don't need to talk about it. You know what's going on." And then there was an objection. From there, Nicole Westmoreland begins to very directly call out inconsistencies with things Briana has said. At one point, she said to her, quote, "You don't have to practice the truth, right?" Briana acknowledged that she spoke to Cassie before and shortly after she filed the lawsuit against Diddy, and she acknowledges that they did discuss the balcony incident. However, Briana says she doesn't remember telling prosecutors during an interview that she had to tell Cassie that Cassie did actually see Briana hanging over the balcony that day. And so to refresh her memory, Nicole has her read notes from the interview. Westmoreland also brings up Briana's earlier testimony when she said she had to tell Cassie the location and timing of the balcony incident as well as who was there. And at this point, most, if not all, of Briana's answers to Westmoreland's questions become, "I don't know," "I don't remember," or she repeatedly asks Westmoreland to rephrase the questions. Westmoreland goes on to ask Briana about the knife throwing incident, specifically asking her if she told prosecutors that Cassie and Diddy would get in knife fights as in plural, but Briana says she doesn't remember. Westmoreland asked Briana if she told prosecutors that the incident happened in the kitchen, but Briana says she was only saying that to suggest where Diddy could have possibly gotten the knife from. And to this, Westmoreland says, quote, "Because what you were saying didn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense that he came to the door with a knife, threw it, and then left." Westmoreland asked Briana if she recalls telling prosecutors that Diddy made the "I'm the devil and I could off you" comment at a party versus today testifying that it happened at a photo shoot, but Briana says she doesn't remember. Westmoreland also highlights that when Briana first met with prosecutors for this case on January 18th, 2024, she never mentioned this photo shoot party "I'm the devil" comment. And the first time it was mentioned was about 2 weeks after that first interview when her then attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, sent a demand letter to Diddy and included this story. From there, Westmoreland spends the remainder of the cross-examination going through more inconsistencies, with Briana replying that she basically doesn't remember. A few examples includes Briana telling prosecutors that the balcony incident happened at a party, but today she said it happened in Cassie's apartment when she was sleeping. Briana apparently told prosecutors when she went on the balcony, she was looking into the apartment and saw Diddy charging directly at her before he put her over the balcony, but today she testified that she was actually looking out at the view. And then in Briana's demand letters, it was stated that while she was out on the balcony, Diddy intimately assaulted her by groping her chest, but today she didn't mention that part at all. Her demand letter also said that when she was on that balcony, Diddy squeezed her chest so hard that she had a bruise on it, but again, today she didn't mention that. And to give context here, Briana says part of the reason she fired Tyrone Blackburn is because he was putting things in the demand letters that were not true and she didn't even know. The final example I'll give is that Westmoreland highlights that in Briana's civil suit against Diddy regarding this balcony incident, she said that Diddy put her over the balcony, but then she was able to get herself back over the banister, and so Diddy put her over the balcony again. Meaning in the lawsuit, she said he did it twice. The testimony wraps up with Briana saying that she last met with prosecutors 2 days ago. And when Westmoreland says that, according to prosecutors' notes, during that meeting, Briana told them that she couldn't remember the details of the hotel incident. Briana responds to this on the stand saying she doesn't remember that. And with that, the day wraps, but Nicole Westmoreland is not done. So Briana will be back on the stand on day 17 to finish up her cross-examination. And then we're supposed to get to Jane Doe. So we'll see how it goes.